show starts in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go.
The stars fall silent from your eye, and all the sights that I have seen, I can't believe that I believed. I wish that you could see there's a new planet in the solar system. There is nothing up my sleeve. I'm pushing an elephant at the stairs. I'm tossing and punchlines that were never had. On the shoulder of the animals, crashing to the ground. In all this talk of time, talk is fine. That
friends, family, and friends that I haven't met yet. It is great to be here with you once again for another exciting episode of The Artist Heart Live. I'm your lovable host, John Morris, and welcome to the only show that is packed solid for 30 minutes straight on a Friday afternoon with energy and passion. Folks, we really hope you enjoyed that wonderfully sung tribute to R.E.M. Of course, The Great Beyond, which is kind of going to be the theme of this week's show because we are going to be going way, way out there. We are going to be going into the ether and into incredible things. We have got the lighter side of the news for you. Of course, we've got a new art tutorial and presentation for you. And in this week's feature artist of the week, we have the awesome Michelangelo, and you'll hear and see why a little bit later on. You know, it's incredible, you know, when you really stop and explore everything that is in our world. When you look out into space at night and you see all those twinkling stars, billion balls of gas, millions of miles high, you know, and just that we can see them with the naked eye is just beyond measure and excitement for me. I don't know if you guys have been watching Disney recently, but my wife and I recently took out a Disney trial, 3-month membership. It sounds really good, doesn't it? And we've been watching a number of different programs that are there and having a tremendous amount of fun with all of that. And one of the films that we came across was the awesome, I think it's a brand new film called Soul, in which a somewhat failing jazz musician gets his big break at the big time, and, you know, he's going for it with all he can. And unfortunately, in his big break, at the moment it's all about to happen, he dies and is literally sent hurtling into the great beyond. And it got me thinking, you know, talking about that, and we're talking about the soul and the spirit and everything else. And the story basically goes where he has to save somebody else and give somebody else an opportunity at life that never took it and never found it for themselves. And, you know, when you actually get to explore, you know, things from the spirit, things from the mind of the spirit as well, you know, you see and hear things that other people just don't see. It's like having, you know, a sixth or seventh or eighth sense that isn't available to the natural man, or that people think isn't available to the natural man, and it's available to all of us. It is the soul and the spirit. So if you get the opportunity to see the film Soul, I would highly recommend it. It is a very, very interesting film for sure, highly funny, with a deeper meaning, which I really enjoy. And it inspired me, obviously, to record this show and to share with you, you know, the R.E.M. song, which I thoroughly love. And it is all about going into the great beyond. You know, nothing is as it seems. And us creative minds, you know, proof of that. With that in mind, folks, we have got to turn now to the lighter side of the news as we present some of the funnier moments this week that have cropped up in the metro. So let's go on over and take a look, shall we? Well, folks, on the lighter side of the news this week, we have got some absolute doozies. Things that if they were not recorded, you probably wouldn't believe actually happened. And first of all, we start not on land or not at sea, but actually 30,000 feet in the air on a budget airline flight, which a snake's head was found in between pasta. We've all been there, folks, where we've sat down for our steak pie, peas and chips, or beautiful pasta dinner, and we have looked at eyes and nose and fangs and scaly skin all looking up at us. A gruesome video shows how a severed head somehow ended up in a flight on a budget airline meal. It's not actually that gruesome. It just shows you the picture. Or expect when you sit down to eat your meal, be it budget or otherwise, it must have been a Ryanair flight. Bournemouth. But a drunk man was so drunk that he protested about not being allowed into a hotel, despite it being not his hotel. Yes, as you can see here, he is laid in front of the police, in front of the hotel, completely spark out, drunk as a skunk and twice as ugly, and refused to leave the wrong hotel. That is a severe form of being drunk, for sure. People, you should never let yourself get this drunk, you know, seriously. And in final news, this was one that I found particularly strange. I would encourage you, whenever you're going to sit on a park bench, to make sure you bring a packet of dry wipes with you and possibly a towel. After the next story that we have here possibly sets your teeth on edge and fills you with horror. A woman who pleasured herself outside White Rose had hordes of sex toys in her handbag. Yes! This lady may be even facing jail time after being caught pleasuring herself on a bench outside Waitrose. Beverly Dean, of 54, exposed her breasts as she committed the solo act in front of a pair of workers who saw her through the office window. Now, this is always interesting from a psychological point of view. What makes somebody do this? And this kind of comes back to a show that we did a couple of weeks ago on the battles we all face. And, it's people are looking for more and more thrill seekers, shall we say, and it gets more and more extreme. It starts out by a little, and then it gets a lot, and a little bit more, and a little bit more, and then it becomes uncontrollable, and before you know it, stories like this are happening on the news. I genuinely see the world through beautiful eyes, because it has so much beauty that's in there, but at the same point, it has a lot of corruption up there, and until we get really serious about wanting to bring all of this to an end, stories like this, and like the aforementioned story, they are going to be the norm. Unfortunately, we live in a very sexualized world, and until pornography is off the internet and is more restrictions are taken, then you're gonna have people, do more wild and wacky things like this. I can understand, why she is facing jail time potentially. It should never have happened, but at the same point, I do ask myself the question, what planted the seed? And on that note, folks, on the lighter side of the news, we'll bring this weird and wacky segment to an end. If you're still watching, thank you very much. If you're not, please do not send in complaint letters. But yeah, what are your thoughts regarding the lighter side of the news, particularly the snake's head? The man found drunk as a skunk and twice as ugly, laid out in front of the wrong hotel. The girl who was told her outfit was inappropriate, and this lady who has been giving herself a happy time out in public. What are your thoughts on this? Comment on the section below, and I would be most curious. And with that, folks, we are going to head now in my Wayback Machine as I get to present to you another exciting painting. So sit back and enjoy. This week's artist in history is none other than the incomparable Michelangelo. Why do we return to Michelangelo, I hear you ask? All will be revealed after this awesome video.
Excuse me, sir? We were wondering where we are.
You are in the finest marble quarry in Italy, and I am Michelangelo, the sculptor, looking for the magical here on Earth.
Huh?
My next piece. There you are. Could you pass me my hammer? And that pouch of wooden pegs?
Wow, the Michelangelo at work. You actually see something in there?
Yes, I see a figure, and I am going to free it.
Whoa! It's gonna be huge!
Well, for now, it is just this piece. I will free it from the mountain right along this natural crack here. See? The pegs will swell with water and cause the rock to break away from the mountain. But we better move away. It's quite heavy.
But how are you gonna get it home?
I hire a crew. They are over there right now moving a big piece I chose this morning.
Wow! They're moving a piece of mountain. Do you see that, Maddie? They're using rollers. Just like me.
Huh?
We don't need to wait for the crew. I can move this back to your studio. Let's go.
Stone dust. It would not be home without it. Marvelous! You have done the work of 10 men!
Michelangelo, what's inside this piece of marble?
It is a boy. He is squatting, crouching down, looking at his foot. Do you see?
Yes, I do.
Whoa, yeah. And wow! I can see inside that block, too. There's a man in this one, and he's very strong. I can see all his muscles, but I can't see his head.
I can see him too, because he's already been carved out. Almost.
This is Atlas, one of the giants that ruled the earth in Greek mythology.
Ooh, mythology. I love those stories.
In this story, Atlas tried to take the power from the gods and rule the earth. And Zeus, the mightiest of the gods, punishes Atlas, making him carry the world on his shoulders.
Is that gonna be the world? Or his head, when he's
I
finished?
think this is his finished, unfinished form.
Did what?
Yes, I think Atlas is perfect as is. He's showing us what it is like to be human.
Like this? Big and strong, moving big, heavy things?
Yes, indeed. Our bodies are magical. They know when it is time to eat and sleep. They know how to heal when they get hurt. And most importantly, they've got a memory box. Unlike other animals, we can learn to talk and be magically creative in so many different ways.
Ooh, look, Maddie.
But sometimes we forget that when we are struggling and frustrated.
And then we get even more stuck in the snow.
Yes, I am sure we have all felt like Atlas here, unable to see anything else but our
But
problems.
how can you make something out of stone look so lifelike?
I just carve into the marble and stop when I reach the skin. I found the foot and knee and elbow first, removing all the stone around them. And then the figure slowly emerged.
Oh, it's like he's coming out of water.
You make it sound so easy, but I could see it's not. And the way you left it not quite finished.
Non finito.
Yeah, non finito. Makes me see that this perfectly shaped body is really made out of this rough stone.
Atlas and I both struggle with stone. But whenever we are stuck, we must remember that our very nature is magical.
I like to use my magical muscles. It makes me feel strong. Huh? Whoa! What was that? It's a painting that's jumping out of its frame.
Hey, this is kind of like my snowball fight drawing, but it's alive with action. It's like a theater, made out of marble.
You are right. It is a story. And I drew it with my chisel.
Is it another Greek myth?
It is. I did this when I was a teenager. It's called Battle of the Centaurs.
I don't see any centaurs in there.
Wow.
I want to get out of there, too. It looks so busy and crowded.
How do you make it look so alive with movement, but it's really still?
It is the contrapposto. When there's a twist or turn in the body, it makes it look like it is moving.
Yeah, I see it. Atlas is doing that too. Contrapposto. It really shows movement.
Yeah, lots of movement.
From the rough to the polished, from the coarse to the divine.
You're using the stone itself to also show the meaning of the story.
There is no idea that cannot be expressed in marble.
I can't wait to rework my drawing with contrapposto.
And I can't wait to start on my new piece.
It was an honor to visit with you. Bye! Bye!
So why, pray tell, I hear you cry, do we return to Michelangelo? Very simple, because he painted the Sistine Chapel, and it was that experience that Katie and I got to venture to this past week, and which we now present to you. Sit back and enjoy.
Michelangelo de Lodovico Buonarroti Simoni, known simply as Michelangelo, was an Italian Renaissance sculptor, painter, architect, and poet. He was born in 1475 in Caprese, Italy. When he was still very young, his family returned to Florence, and his mother died when he was only 6 years old. Michelangelo's father sent him to school, but he was not very interested in learning what was taught there. All he wanted to do was paint and become an artist. In 1488, when he was 13 years old, Michelangelo was apprenticed to an artist, Domenico Ghirlandaio, and in 1490 he was sent to continue his training with the powerful Medici family.
And here we can see an ancient painting from biblical times in which Michelangelo actually creates a self-portrait. As you can see there, his face is the face of the severed head of a king. Michelangelo did a lot of biblically inspired paintings, and in this picture, called aptly The Last Judgment, I sat in simple awe and wonder, amazed at the level of detail, artistic ability, but also the phenomenal story that it told. There you can see Jesus in the center of the picture, and around him are those that are ascending to heaven and the others that are descending to hell. And this painting tells not only a very gruesome story, but also a very detailed and poignant one with the knowledge that was available at the time. And a painting that impacted me greatly. The blues, the greens, the bodies, the skin, the tone, so much more that was there. This painting was probably the one that made the biggest impact upon me of all.
Over the next few years, he began producing sculptures and honing his skills. In 1496, Michelangelo moved to Rome. While there, he was commissioned to create a statue of Jesus after he was crucified, laying in the lap of his mother Mary. Michelangelo was 24 years old when he completed this statue, called Pietà, which is regarded as one of the greatest masterpieces of sculpture in the history of the world. Michelangelo returned to Florence and accepted another commission, to create a statue of David from a huge block of marble. He worked on the sculpture for more than 2 years. When it was finished, the statue of David was more than 17 feet or 5 meters tall and weighed around 6 tons.
As we can see here in perhaps Michelangelo's most famous painting, The Story of Creation, God reaching out and bringing life and setting forth into Adam. I particularly love the fact that God had his arm around Eve, who you can see there in the top right hand corner. But you also notice in Michelangelo's paintings that most, if not all, of the women who he portrays are all muscular, as were the preferred physiques at the time.
Sculpture. In 1505, the newly elected Pope Julius II invited Michelangelo to return to Rome to create his tomb, a project he worked on off and on for the next 40 years. 3 years later, he received another commission when the Pope asked him to paint the ceiling of the Sistine Chapel. Michelangelo considered himself a sculptor and not a painter, and did not want to take the job, but he could not refuse the Pope. The work in the Sistine Chapel took 4 years to complete, and was more than 134 feet or 41 meters in length, and 46 feet or 14 meters in width. Michelangelo painted a total of 343 figures depicting stories from the Bible, including the creation of Adam, which is one of the most famous paintings in history. Painting on a ceiling was difficult. Michelangelo had to work on a scaffolding that brought him high enough to reach it. Contrary to popular belief, he did not lie down to work, but stood and painted above his head. After his work in the Sistine Chapel, Michelangelo was considered a great artist. He made many statues, paintings, drawings, and frescoes. He wrote hundreds of poems. He was also an architect and designed the dome of St. Peter's Basilica. I hope you enjoyed learning about the famous artist, Michelangelo, and seeing some of his beautiful work.
Well, folks, we hope you really enjoyed this episode of The Artist Hat Live. If you have, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Tell a friend, because it could be the very, very thing that they need to hear in their hour of struggle. This week, you've seen many weird, wacky, and beautiful things. Hopefully more beautiful than weird and wacky. Although after what I've seen in the Metro this week, I'm not so certain. But, folks, don't forget to come back and join us for the same amount of fun next week as The Artist Hat Live presents to you another exciting, wonderful, awe-inspiring, humorous, and artistically creative-minded episode. So as always, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Have a phenomenal weekend, my friends. Take care, God bless, namaste, and we will see you very, very soon. Take care.